Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tuts, and today what we're going to be doing is making a 3D card flipping effect with CSS. Now what we're actually going to have is content on the front and back of a card, and on hover we're going to rotate that card in 3D space and you're going to be able to see what's on the back. Now this might sound scary if you're not used to these techniques, but it's really not that much CSS and it's really cool. The best part is there's a lot of things in this experiment that you can apply to other things. So keep watching. Over the next couple of videos, we're gonna have a working card flip that you can mess around and modify and really understand what's going on. So I'm gonna be using CodePen to show you an example. You can follow along if you like. I am not going to be using Sass. This is just going to be only CSS. However, I'm using normalize and auto prefixer to make sure I have my prefixes. And that's all I have there, and nothing on the HTML end. So let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're going to do is make a square essentially that just flips over. So let's go ahead and make a div. We can just call this let's call this card. So we have a card here, and in our CSS, our card is going to get some basic styles. It's going to have a width of 200 pixels, and it's going to have a height of 300 pixels, and it's going to have a background, and this background color, we can go ahead and just make this a nice blue color here. We can do 5677 FC. Now you can make this, of course, any color you would like. Let's give this some more room. Actually, let's make this height a little bit smaller here. We can go 200 pixels with the height as well, just so that this example isn't taking over everything. Okay, so we have our card. It has a height and a width, it's got a background color, and because it's a div, it's automatically display block, right? So we don't have to tell this display block or anything like that. If you weren't maybe using with a block level item, you'd want to do that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put a hover state on it. So we say .card hover, and for the hover state, let's transform this card. So using CSS transforms, we can rotate this card. So let's say transform and then colon and then rotate, capital Y, and we're gonna rotate it on a certain amount of degrees. Now let's actually go ahead and put this at something like 90 degrees. Now if we put a semicolon here, now whenever we hover, the card is going to rotate on the y-axis 100, or it's just 90 degrees. So here we go. As you can see, I hover over this and it essentially disappears. And it's doing that because there's no animation in here. It's just instantly rotating it. And two, 90 degrees essentially means it's not there. 90 degrees means it's rotating out towards you, and it's gone because it takes up no space essentially. So let's go ahead and make this something like 120 degrees. Now if we hover over it, it's rotating, and you can see it's mid-rotate, but it really just looks like it's shrunk. Okay, so we're sort of getting there. Let's actually add a little bit of margin top to this just because I want to give it some space here. Okay. So now it's sort of doing it, but it's not really what we would want, right? So now we want to add a transition. To do that, we just need to add a transition, and then we can pass this all, and then let's say 0.6 seconds, and then we can ease it. If you wanted to only target this transform specifically, you could have this say transform here, but just in case we animate anything else or transition anything else here, I'm just gonna put in all for now. Now let's save this and let's check it out. Okay, you can see it's going beyond the 90 and then almost all the way back. So let's actually put this at 180 degrees to make it do an entire full-on rotation. Okay. So now this is flipping out 180 degrees. Now to get this to work the way we want it to, we're going to have to add a couple more things. First of all, we need to tell this card to preserve its 3D. So we can say, that's on transform. So we can say transform-style and then preserve 3D, because we want this to be popping out at you. We want this to look like it's 3D, not like it's just rotating in 2D space like it is right now. Well, it's always going to be rotating in 2D space, but we want it to give the illusion of 3D space. So the next thing we need is we need to give a container to this card, and we need to give that container a perspective. So let's go ahead and call this card-container. And let's go ahead and place our card inside of there. Now our very first line of code here is going to be for card container, and card container is going to get a perspective, and we're just going to set this at 700. Okay, so now let's check out what happens when we hover over our cube. You now get this great 3D effect. In fact, it looks like it's in 3D space, everything is perfect, and it's really nice and smooth. Like, who'd have thought maybe even like a couple years ago that doing something like this with CSS would be so easy. It's just really awesome. It's great. And now this is something you can go ahead and try on your own, experiment with, and play, get working, do all sorts of cool stuff with it. There's a lot of great things you can do with these transforms. Now let's say you didn't want this vertical flip here where you wanted to actually flip vertically, so flip over the x-axis. It's as simple as changing this y to an x. And now when we hover over this, you can see it's now twisting up and down, essentially over the horizontal axis there. Cool, so this is how we get the card flipping animation working. In the next video, we're going to show you how exactly you can have content on the front and back of this card flipper, and you can use it to reveal things about, you know, maybe an interesting effect that you have to reveal some particular type of content. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tuts. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the video below. Hit us up at Twitter or Facebook. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.